Welcome to the Freedom CEO podcast. It's about becoming the chief decision maker over your life in order to step into a life of freedom. From business, health, wealth, charity, and giving back to just doing life on your own terms. I am your host, Shae. I am an award-winning activist, change maker, and a multifaceted impact entrepreneur with over a decade of experience in business, philanthropy, and health and wellness. In this space, I'm going to be bringing you insights, not just from me, but from incredible thought leaders around the globe to help you start making decisions towards living a life of freedom so you can live a life you love. Are you ready, guys? Because we are going all in. With over a decade of experience, Ashley Deland is a recognized expert in the field of business development and has been featured in Forbes, Inc., Entrepreneur, and she currently sits on the Forbes Business Council for the second year in a row. Ashley is a strategic business advisor for female founders that specializes in marketing, branding, and sales. She is also the founder and CEO of Maison, Deland, a full-service creative design house that supports lifestyle brands and founders alike through done service for you. So get ready for this powerhouse conversation with Ashley, who was Business Elite's Top 40 Under 40 winner in 2022. And more recently, Ashley won the Women in Business 2023 Stevie Award for Best Entrepreneur in Canada. I think you're going to love today's combo. Welcome, Ashley, to the Freedom CEO podcast. I'm so happy to have you here today.
Thank you. It's so wonderful to be here. Thank you so much for asking.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And it's actually kind of cool because we are reconnecting after a very, very long time. Yeah. And in many ways, though, I feel like this is going to be one of these first conversations that we're going to connect on a completely different level, that I get to dive in and know more of who you are. So I'm excited for that.
We are meeting in higher versions of ourselves right now. That's what we are doing.
Yes, higher versions. Absolutely. And a lot of life in between that. You know, Ashley and I, we went to the same high school together. And so that is a few decades ago, not to disclose how old we both are, but we've lived a little, we've done a little since then. And so I'm excited to share who you are on this show. I've watched you from afar around what you are doing in your entrepreneurial journey, and it is super inspiring, and you are really impactful in Canada. And so let's just start there. Let's start with your entrepreneurial journey. How did you get started? Was you wanting to be an entrepreneur? Did you always think that that's what you were going to do? Bring us back a little bit.
Bring us back. All right. So I was actually raised by a single mother in Montreal, and money was always an issue for us. When we moved to Ontario, I found the power of offering a service and gaining monetary value from it. And I knew in that moment, I think I was like 11, I knew in that moment that business was just in my blood, and it was something that I wanted to pursue. So I went to college and from there graduated, and there was an accelerated program in Australia to get your business degree with a specialization in marketing. So I went to do that, and I graduated with honors, and I hate school. Like, I was obsessed with it. It's really the psychology of buying patterns and colors and logos, like brand identity, messaging. It was this whole beautiful world that I became obsessed with. When I graduated from Griffith, which is a business school in Australia, I came home and I thought, if I'm going to do this, I want to be working for the most powerful person in Canada. There was no small at that point in time. So I walked into Much Music, and I told them that I would work for free until I was validated enough to be paid for my position. And I was one of the youngest people on staff. And within 6 months, I took my boss's job. And I only continued to grow within that arena until I became not only Moses Neimer's right-hand woman, I was the director of marketing events for Much Music and City TV, and helped with Zoomer magazine. So I realized how much I really loved business and also how good I was. And one day I was like, I am making a lot of money for this guy. So I decided to break off corporate chains and I came back to the roots of Oakville and Burlington. And at that time, I had gone into Power Yoga Canada with our lovely Kinley and Pauline. And I took my first yoga class and I was like, this is powerful. This is pretty fucking amazing.
Mm-hmm.
So I decided to take the certification, open a few yoga studios in the Burlington area and Oakville. And then I realized how much I love to be more hands-on. So I had kind of the business education, the corporate, then I stepped into entrepreneurship and it was this whole new addiction. And I was like, this is amazing. So I built, scaled, and exited yoga studios and then juice bars, and then more recently a vegan restaurant downtown Oakville. And then word started spreading around and everyone was like, how are you doing this? And I was like, oh, I can help you. And that's how I formed about 10 years ago, becoming a strategic business advisor. But now I champion only female founders and a lot of local women with their dreams. So that's my journey.
Wow. So incredible. And just like the migration and the different industries that you've even come in and out of, which is like such solid diversity, like for today, even with all the different type of women and paths I'm sure you deal with.
Yes. Yeah. To me, like all of this experience has helped me create a specific equation. It's almost like business is a mathematical equation and it's a certain framework that you can implement into any niche or any market and the results are proven, right? So it's just an art, really.
I love that. It's true though. It is an art.
Yeah, definitely.
So when you think of like, you had a very strong mindset. It sounded like there wasn't a plan B. There wasn't a second option. Like you knew what you were going into Much Music to accomplish.
Yeah.
You were a lot younger back then as well, correct? And so there, in some ways, when you're younger, sometimes you're a little more feisty because the risk is not as high. You don't have as much maybe as to lose when you're in your 40s or like 50s and you're taking risks in business or as an entrepreneur.
Yep.
You've had to take different levels of risk along the way.
So much.
And where do you find, like, where does your strength come from in taking those risks?
I have lived by the motto of the power of now. And I still hold that mindset so true to all of my personal evolution and business growth is if that thought comes up for me, and I'm very Aries, like I'm a fire, I jump. But if that thought comes up for you, whether it's in a business or a life capacity, I think that vision and that thought and that idea is specifically meant for you. So I encourage people who are being downloaded with that information to stay in the power of now and execute it. Because I don't know if you've ever heard this quote from Joel Osteen, but he said some of the most powerful people in the entire world are in the graveyards because they have died with all of their ideas and all of their business proposals. And that's why I live in the now, is because we give ample opportunity with time to allow limiting beliefs and fears to set in. Where if you just jump on that idea that is completely meant for you, then you are already in execution. So there's no room or space in your agenda to sit in those fears. So that's what I would say is definitely sit in the power of now and know that those ideas are usually divinely guided. So they're meant for you to achieve.
Such a powerful way of putting it, because I think even what you, I'm going to say even more profoundly are explaining it is what most people would understand as procrastination, and it's in that procrastination period that you do begin to talk yourself out of it. All of the reasons why it won't work out, the reasons why you can't do it, it might not work, your own limiting beliefs. And rather than allow for that unhelpful space of time, talking about the power of now, John Maxwell actually, similarly, he always says, do it now, do it now, do it now, do it now. and it was one of those, he's a huge, I love him and all of his leadership work, that when I was younger, I would just like study. And I just remember over and over again being like, do it now, do it now, do it now. And the more that you just ingrain that, even small tasks, like how many people just have like their laundry sitting because they just don't want to do it. And it's like, if we are basing our actions on feelings, whether we do or not want to do something, oftentimes it just won't get done, so you have to have the muscle, you have to have that discipline of doing it anyways, whether it's imperfect, to progress forward, right? And that's in the power of doing it now. So I love that.
And to tap into the imperfectness, so many people are so afraid of the failure aspect to going after their dreams, when if they can just reframe their mind to understand that failure is such a beautiful part of the process and it allows you to accelerate into perhaps a different direction faster, they'll understand to embrace it instead of stopping it. So that's a really good point to bring up, actually.
Yeah, I say this often as to falling in love with failure, the same thing, because we have this negative connotation towards it. And yet it is where the lessons are. It's where the new ideas are birthed. It's where you perfect your process. And it's only how you get better at it. You look at any type of skill that needs what we call practice. And it's reframing it, because if you looked at something that you were trying to do as a practice versus trying and failing, and we just said, I'm practicing at it, your brain would think like, and the more you practice it, the better you're going to get at it, and you're perfecting that process. And learning to fail forward, because nobody ever gets to the top without screwing up a million times, but we don't ever talk. We don't ever talk. A lot of people do talk about the things that didn't go wrong, the things that didn't go right. Exactly. But it's not common that we're creating like this base of ease and acceptance to know that it is part of the process. So, Okay, maybe let's talk about that. Do you want to talk about that for a moment?
Yeah, for sure. I'm always into, even with a lot of the women that I do strategic advisory and like, go do something that you'll fail instantly to get over the feeling. So let's tap into that for sure.
So, you brought up on your journey many different startings and exiting, even right now. What would you say are some of your biggest, I don't like to say them as failures, but we'll say failures because that's what we're talking about right now. For you, what was the biggest failure that you had to learn from?
I honestly can right off the bat say that I had two of the biggest learning lessons of my career. And the first one was the thought of being invincible. And it bit me in the ass when COVID happened, because I had a whole team. So I own a marketing agency, Maison Deland, and I also own Ashley Deland brand, which is strategic business advisory. And as COVID was coming along, we were in full function. We had about a 6-month wait list on the agency side. I was completely booked up for the year ahead. And I just thought, like, nothing is going to touch us. We are fine. Okay, so somebody has a cough and a cold. I wasn't thinking about the external threats to my brand, because I wasn't sitting in reality. And I just thought we're untouchable, which is a horrible mentality to have. And when COVID hit, in the midst of it, worldwide, our clients started dropping. Obviously, they had to shut their doors. They didn't need marketing. They didn't need advisory. And one by one, all of our clients started dissipating. And I was like, what the heck is going on? So I really learned in that lesson, when I hit ground zero after being in for so long and coming out of that and having to start fresh, was never have the mentality that outside threats would not affect your business. This is why we do the SWOTs. But to also realize that the economy has incredible power over your business at any point in time, and that you, on your own level as a leader, need to be aware of those external threats. So that was the first large learning lesson. And the second one came when I was exiting the restaurant. I had a certain buyer that I was very interested in selling the restaurant to. And I hesitated on the purchase because I allowed external voices to influence my decision. And because of that, I picked the wrong buyer. And it taught me to always trust your instincts and your gut as a woman, especially, and to never allow the outside voices to penetrate any of your internal decisions, your life decisions, or business decisions, because everything that you need to know is already within you. You do not need external validation. You don't need external insight. You need to sit with yourself. And if you are a woman or a man of God, then you need to sit with divine and allow that vision to unfold for you, because when you let the outside in, it just manipulates your thoughts.
Right.
That would be my second one, is that to never let the outside in. And the first one is to never think you're invincible, because you really are a business that is evolving and growing, but there's so many additional factors out there that will affect your business.
So good. And those are hard, you know, like that's not easy to sometimes overcome, you know, but
Yeah,
I love
definitely. Thank you. What is yours?
Oh my goodness. What is mine? Earlier on, I would say kind of not, if I were to go back and like do real estate over again, like do our business over again. I already knew this, but I really didn't live it, I'm going to say, at the time, where I would have gone 2 feet fully in. I was never like 2 feet in. I was like 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I still built a lot of great success and have, you know, done very well in the industry. And, you know, we've built great things. But I look back on when I first started. I got my license when I was 25, 26, something like that. And I had a plan that I was going to move to California before my 30th birthday. Similar to you, I finished my university degree at the U of Sydney over in Australia.
Oh, nice.
And so, yeah, when you said that, I was like, oh, kind of me too, in marketing as well. And yeah, and so I never wanted to be back like in Oakville or in Toronto in general. And so rather than bloom where you're planted for the season that you're being planted, and I really believe that, like knowing that nothing is forever and you can also change anything at any time you want. That's your decision. You hold that power.
Right.
And rather actually like sitting in that, for me, I was like 1 foot in with 1 foot out, and I never really gave it my all because I didn't want to be where I was.
Yes.
Rather than really go, okay, I'm going to do this because this is where I am. And, you know, and I'm sure you can relate in a certain way, but I tell people it takes more energy to do something half-ass.
Yeah.
Because you're not happy about it, you know, and then you are, and then you're not, you flip-flop, and it's more energy to do something half-ass than it is just to give it your 100% focus, your joy, your attention, and to actually show up and do it well and do it with excellence, which I've always strived myself on. So for me, that, you know, where I'm sitting today in my life, that decision had a really big impact because it's not like, even now where I'm at is not where I like wanted to be by where I am right now. And so in some ways it's almost like not like a rolling failure, but kind of, and it's not something I can change. Obviously it's only like, now it's like, okay. And I have obviously done all of that, you know, I've like gone 2 feet in, but I would have done that a lot sooner than being 1 foot in, 1 foot out. And I know think that for people, like, and I always tell people that, like, you know, go all in on something and give it 100%, and knowing that you don't need to stay committed to it. You can sell the thing, you can close it, you can turn it down, you know, you can leave it all behind. Like, you're still in control. And but showing up with like excellence and doing it 100%, because you also then don't live in a what if, because that's part of my is going, well, what would it have looked like if I had done that, you know? So yeah, that's probably one of my bigger ones that nobody actually knows about.
Yeah,
You know?
I mean, that's a big thing. Living in the what if is like an entrepreneur, not even entrepreneurial. It's like a life, God, it's shackles, really. It's the most horrible thought is, what if I gave myself the 100% in that season? What would have happened? But we also have to live with like I guess it wasn't meant to happen. And that's where it brought me to this day. But yeah, that's a good one.
Yeah. You know, and I think too, and I know you're of this mindset as well, and just, you know, knowing your story, and also just like what you champion for women is betting on yourself and taking that risk, right? And so like that's part of like the reminder lesson that, like, I think many of us already know that. It's just like when I was younger, it was like I was not betting on myself in that way. You know, I believed in myself, but I was like, I don't want to be here. So it's like, I'm going to be one foot out doing this and one foot in. And so, you know, now I say that, like, for me, that's the lesson forward, that no matter where you are in your life, sometimes it's a season for a reason, and sometimes it's for a lifetime. But like, bet on yourself, take the risk, go all in, and you can course correct at any time. You can stop at any time. You can walk away at any time, you know, but at least you'll know, and you can go to sleep at night going, I gave that my all. I went all in on that.
Yes.
And, you know, it's not even that there's a regret, but that there's that peace, the peace of knowing, like, I gave it my all. I went all in, and now I changed my mind, or I'm no longer passionate about it. And like, or I want to do something different. And all of that is okay. You know, giving yourself permission to no longer want or pursue or do that which doesn't serve you anymore.
Yes, exactly. Another motto that I share with a lot of women, and the reason I do that is because there is so much untapped potential within them that they have no idea about until they start overcoming the setbacks and changing their mindset about failure. And it is, if you think about something and it makes you want to throw up because it's so scary, then that is a direction that you have to go in. You have to go in because it's meant for you. On the other side of that speaking event or that retreat or that setback or that fear is you're meeting a higher version of yourself.
Right.
So evolve into that person, because that setback was meant to grow you so that you can take on bigger things. And I think a lot of people don't see that. They see the challenge, the failure, the setback, or the scary thing, and they stop in their tracks. But the reality is that is the best and fastest way to evolve as a person and as a business owner, is to take them head on and to know that course correction is always in the back pocket, right? That's why you do this. There's no guarantee. There's no guarantee. Entrepreneurship is the biggest risk, but also has the biggest reward associated. So keep your head down, keep focused, and keep going.
Yeah. And I always say that the bigger risk is not doing anything and not betting on yourself.
Yes.
You know, and that is full circle to what we just talked about. That's like living a whole life of what if.
Exactly.
More tormenting, in my opinion, than taking it, trying it. And if it doesn't work, okay, try something else. You know, but you have that piece of knowing, like, you bet on yourself and you went for it.
Yep. And that's the challenge. So
So let me ask you, you work with future focused female founders. It's a lot of F's.
Yeah, that's my group program, the Future Focused Female Collective. Yeah.
Yeah, I love it. A lot of F's. Tell me, what is a future focused female? Founder, I understand.
Ultimately, so I champion female founders through marketing, branding, and business development. But when somebody comes to me and they have this vision, this dream, these goals set into their heart, and they don't know how to achieve them, I am here to bring that future vision into life through the frameworks, through the strategies, through the accountability and the steps, so that they find ease in that alignment. They're doing it through joy, through relaxation, and they are empowering themselves along the way. So if you have the vision, we have the foundation to build that framework in order to get you from where you are to where you want to grow into. And that's that mathematical equation, right? Obviously, it's personalized and customized to every single female and every niche and every market. But if you have a purpose or you have a craft and you just don't know how to get to whatever looks like success for you, whether it's a brick and mortar or whether it's 7 figures and working from home as a new mom, it can be a really lonely and confusing journey. But when you have the right support system and you have the right, not just coach, but team behind you, it becomes so easily digestible to get to those next steps. And that's ultimately what we do here is we empower you through the frameworks to get towards that future vision and what success looks like to you.
I love that. So I want to dive more into this and getting into some of like the nitty gritty around business, the online space. You know, it feels like almost every other week, the statistics come out that it's millions upon millions and now billions upon billions going into trillions by 2030 of the digital online space. And before we kind of tap into that, I know you were on the cover of Forbes more recently to share your story around how motherhood has changed for you now as an entrepreneur. And because when I hear, and this is what I want to tap into, you know, a lot of women, I think they have these ideas and it's this yearning and they don't know how to pull it out. And then I'm a mom. I've already got like a 9 to 5. How do I have time? I don't have time, all of this stuff. And so I thought before maybe getting into some of these, like the nitty gritty and advice you would have to women today, I think it would be nice for them to also hear from you as a mom and how has that changed entrepreneurship for you, the balance of that. And congratulations for being on the cover of Forbes for that too. That's remarkable.
Thank you. Yeah, I've been on their business council for a few years now. So I actually entrepreneur a lot of new entrepreneurs and I love it. Forbes has been a beautiful outlet to also support a lot of men, women, and teenagers in the business development. So here's the truth about the motherhood and entrepreneurship is that I was raised by a single mother and I'm the youngest of 3. So I've been in the world of women empowerment forever where there's just nothing we can't do. So I really had an advantage that way. But the reality was I was a late bloomer. I was 38. My daughter Haven is 18 months. And so many people that went before me were like, okay, so what are you going to do with your business? Like, you can't do it all, Ashley. It's not feasible. And everywhere that I looked, it was somebody speaking about the limitations and the negativity about being an entrepreneur and being in motherhood. And I made it a goal of mine to be very transparent and real on the journey and to have an inside look because a lot of women think that they have to choose, and that's just bullshit mentality. That's been conditioned into us that we have to choose, when the reality is we really can do it all. Has it been difficult? Yeah, my postpartum sucked really, really hard. I'm not going to lie about that. But you realize being a mother, and I was back at work 3 days after a C-section because I had a whole team and onboarding. You realize so quickly that it's just not worth your energy to even try to do it all yourself. Like it's just a waste. So I became very laser focused on building the team from at the house into the team at the agency to the team at the advisory. And Automation saved me. Processes saved me, reoccurring revenue while you're asleep. So I became more digitally focused on how I can create revenue while I sleep, how we can onboard people through the frameworks and the processes, how to build out the teams to support me. I am definitely planning on having another kid within the next year or so. And now it's like the physical people in the office to build that out.
Right.
So my advice is, if you are say you're on leave or you're kind of not wanting to go back to work, I would say stop trying to do it all by yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Bring in the right people to support your growth as a mom, to support your growth as a business owner, and to give yourself so much grace. Like, seasons of grace and being in alignment with your vision is what will fuel you. When you wake up in the morning, what things that I want to accomplish today? If it really is being with family, then allow that alignment to happen for the day. Or if the other one is to build out a product suite, then just tap into yourself every morning and download what you feel needs to happen and then grow from there. That would be it. But you can do it all. I've never had so much success and growth since I've had Haven. So she's my superpower.
No, I love that. Your superpower. And she's 18 months now?
Yep.
Oh, congratulations. That's so special.
Yeah, she's a little miracle. You see life in such an innocent, beautiful way, but your why becomes not about you anymore. And it changes you in such beautiful ways.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would your advice then be to women who are wanting to step into the world of entrepreneurship? Because I feel everything right now, especially right now, actually,
Mm-hmm.
is just oversaturated with everyone selling something, but feeling like everyone is selling nothing. You know, like when I go on Instagram, it's like the MRR blew up the internet,
Yeah.
and of these influencers of, and for people who don't know what that is, it's the master resale rights, which is a course that when you buy it one time, you can sell it multiple times and you have the right to resell it, even though you didn't create it. And then you have so many different influencers just making reels going, this is how I made $20,000 like in a month. And this is how, and it's like, no, but what are actually people are like not really even selling anything. They're just telling you that they are selling something, And so what is your advice for women wanting to step into the online space, into the digital space, because it is lucrative and it's growing, booming. And how do you find your footing for today in that?
Yeah. So all those people that made $20,000 overnight, it's completely doable. That's not an overachieving number. But the thing is, they've taken the time and built out the frameworks to get that launch, to get that certain monetary value. So it takes a long time to get to that certain point, which is why everyone thinks it's overnight success. But they've set in the strategies, the foundations, from the onboarding to the offboarding to the product suite development. They've done the work prior to in order to generate that kind of $20,000 launch. So I would definitely say that you need to be very aware of the systems that you put into place and build out your business from ground zero, from brand messaging to brand identity, the product suite, the marketing, in a way that will help you accelerate your growth process. The biggest thing that we're seeing right now in the digital world is that the generation below us is really into instant gratification. There's no denying that. They are no longer going to be going to school. Like, they're not going to be interested in going to school for 3 years and then coming out of debt. What they want is, if they want to become a business coach, they find the person that's doing it the best within the industry, and they take their program, they get the certification, and they jump out with 2 feet. So if you have a purpose or a craft, the best way to do it right now is to do it in kind of a framework that I built out, which is the impact ring, profitability ring. So you have the do-it-yourself product suite, which is all the way at the bottom. And then you have the done for you, which is kind of like the group programs and something that you're doing within a group atmosphere. And then you had the done for you, which is one-on-one. So if you have a passion, a purpose, or a craft, and you want to build out your product suite, you don't necessarily need the brand first, but if you want to generate the money to build out the brand, then do the one-to-ones or do the group programs or do the do-it-yourself so that you can generate the income to build the business. But what I would say right now is tailor to the generation coming up, acknowledge their need, diversify your product suite, and to also understand that all of these launches take so much work to build up to. They take the frameworks, they take the knowledge, and everything will come pretty much in due time. So keep your head down and stop looking at Instagram. That's a huge one too.
Oh, I know, like the rabbit hole of Instagram.
It is. And it's so true. One of the analogies that I always say is that you can go into a dark forest and you can have a match and you can go around lighting everybody else's fire, or you can build the biggest fire and have everybody attract themselves to you. And that's what I would say. That's how you operate your business, is build a big, bright fire that heats everybody else, that serves everybody else, and they'll come to you. Don't worry about running around trying to serve everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And that is also, magnetizing, right? Calling it in. Yeah. Yep. And attracting it to yourself. I love that. Big time.
Yeah. I can tell you have a really established morning routine. I mean, we have to prime our mindset every single day, right? So, it's journaling, it's meditation, it's the tapping, it's breath work. Entrepreneurship is 60% of the game. Start with yourself first. So get the mindset done and then you're pretty much unstoppable.
Yeah. Well, I mean, mindset is everything, literally everything. So I couldn't agree more. And those who know me and tune in to the podcast regularly do know routine is a huge thing for me, and guarding my mornings and also my evenings. I always say they're the bookends to your day. You can't control what happens in the middle, but I am in control of how I start my day and how I end it. And that's the most important. And especially if I have to choose one, I'm taking the morning 100%.
For sure. I do. So true.
Sets the tone. So
exactly.
Let me ask you, how are you, what's your opinion on, not an opinion, but how are you using AI right now? The power of it in the digital space?
So, I mean, video content and content creation in general is where every single business needs to be focusing on in the future. AI is great when it comes to creating my own social media posts personally. I don't use it for any of my clients, but I use it for my own because it creates great hooks. And obviously in the framework of a social media post, the hook is the most important. Then you have the body. But I would say that I use it to help catch the right eyes, because you put in your ideal client, then you put in your content topic and then your content bucket, and then they generate a really good hook. But AI is a beautifully complicated, horrible thing all at the same time, because we see the way that it is taking over jobs already. But I would say use it strategically, but never rely on it, because you need to sharpen your own skills constantly. So use it for social media posts. Don't use it for website content. Don't ever use it for clients, but on your own level, use it for creativity only, not to do the work.
I think that's so important. Yeah. And also too, if you're a person that people in your audience do know, they're also be able to hear that it's not your tone, right? Oh, it doesn't quite sound like Shae, or that does not sound like Ashley, And so using it for, inspiration, fantastic tool, but not to replace you and your voice.
Yeah.
Is really important.
Yeah, because people are going to show up to something like this and hear who we authentically are and how we speak. And then if that comes across differently, then you lose that trust factor right away. So why even?
100%. Agree. And are you just using ChatGPT, or do you have a different AI tool that you love?
No, I'm very very cognitive about how much I use because
Yeah.
content creation is so important to me. So I'm only using the chat. It's actually in my browser right now. Chat GPT, literally for hooks. And that is it. That is it. That is it. A lot of my clients do use it for inspiration, and building out freebies is a big one too. But I always advise them to keep the important elements and assets to your own tone.
I love it. Super
Yeah.
important.
Yep.
Ashley, tell us what's coming up next for you. Like what is happening for you this year? Where can we be catching up with you to see what you have on the horizon?
Yeah, I mean, always follow me on IG. I show up there in person in real time often. But the Female Founders Roundtable is happening at Spencer's on March 28th. And this is the time I actually went to Chris Harder, who is my business coach. I went to his roundtable in Arizona, and it was such a profound experience that I decided to bring it to Canada. And this is where 20 high impact female founders come into a room, and from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., we individually dive into your business collectively so that we share the strategies, the secrets, the frameworks to build out and accelerate your business, but also we form an even deeper connection and community, and we open up our black books. So that happens Thursday, March 28th at Spencer's at the Waterfront.
That's in Burlington.
That's in Burlington, Ontario. Yep. And on April 18th, we're having the Female Founders Elite Dinner, which is where we just get served a 3-course dinner in a beautiful space with floor to window, floor to ceiling views of Lake Ontario. And we just talk, we network, we talk, we empower one another. And again, at Spencer's at the Waterfront on May 9th, we have the Women Are Speaking. And this is where I bring in some very well-known speaking coaches to teach women how to scale and sell their brand from the stage, which is a very important aspect for all thought leaders, is to evolve into public speaking and speaking at events. So that's happening May 9th. So I would say follow me on IG. You can check out all of that information at ashleydeland.com. And I'm so interested to really just provide the support. So if anybody is listening, tap in. I'm here on IG for you.
Amazing. And we'll definitely include your website will be in the show links as well in the description. So make sure to check them out, tune in, and hop over to Ashley's IG and drop her a DM as well and say hello.
Yeah. Amazing.
Ashley, thanks so much for joining today. So great to connect with you.
Yeah, it was so great. So thank you so much for inviting me. It was so nice to like reconnect with you and kind of tap into those higher versions. And I appreciate your time and being here even when you're sick, guys. She's sick and still showing up for you.
Thanks, Ashley.
All right. Have a good day.
You too. Thanks for tuning into the Freedom CEO podcast. If you got value out of today's show, I would love for you to leave a review, as it will help my show reach other people as well. You know what to do. Download this episode, click the like and subscribe button. If you feel like spreading more love, hop over to Instagram and share today's show in your stories. Remember to tag Shae Vidiata and the Freedom CEO. My DMs are always open, so drop me a line. I'd love to connect. Until next time, keep owning your decisions to live a life of freedom. Live a life you love.